الحمد لله الحمد لله الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له أشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد, as to what proceeds, after praising Allah the Most High, separated from His creation in a manner which befits His Majesty, love and veneration exclusively for Him, and then requesting He the Most High to send His salah and salam upon His final Prophet and Messenger, Khatamul Anbiya wal Mursaleen, Muhammad ibn Abdullah al-Qurashi alayhi salatu wassalam. Firstly, I greet you all with Islamic greeting of Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dearest, respected students in Islam, as our weekly meeting to study the classical text in Fiqh known as Ad-Durar al-Bahiyya, with the explanation of Ad-Dararir al-Madiyya, both by the great noble Ahlul Hadith scholar famously known as Al-Imam al-Shawkani rahimahullah ta'ala. So we're going to start once again by reading the text of the first bab, or the first section, if you want to call it, in Arabic and then in English. And then we shall read through its explanation once again, and then I will start to give my commentary. Now, can Qari Abu Luqman be unmuted? And can you read, please? Barakallahu feek.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. قال الإمام الشوكاني رحمه الله في كتابه الدرر البهية في المسائل الفقهية، كتاب الطهارة، باب الماء طاهر مطهر لا يخرجه عن الوصفين إلا ما غير ريحه أو لونه أو طعمه من النجاسات، وعن الثاني ما أخرجه عن اسم الماء المطلق من المغيرات الطاهرة، ولا فرق بين قليل وكثير، وما فوق قلتين وما دونهما، ومستعمل وغير مستعمل، ومتحرك وساكن. And English, I have a different translation. Should I read from the one on screen? Shall I read from the one on screen, Sheikh?
Now, from the screen.
No. Imam al-Shawkani says in his book, Ad-Dirar al-Mudiyya, or the Crystalline Gems of Islamic Jurisprudence, Chapter 1 on water. Water is pure and is a purifier. It never loses these two natural characteristics unless it's polluted by any impurities, changing its smell, taste, or color. Water loses the latter characteristic as a purifier when it cannot be called water due to the dominance of pure substances over water. In this regard, i.e., water as a purifier, there is no difference between a little and a lot. What exceeds the capacity of 2 pots, qulla, and what is less than that, running and stagnant, used and unused.
Read the explanation of Shawkani in English. Sorry. Can that be put up with this? It says chapter 1.1, rulings on water, book of purification.
Yeah.
Explanation. I think the students should all have the PDF that was sent to them. Explanation by Ashoka.
In the explanation?
So not this text, there's another text that was sent. This is
yes, Sheikh, just a moment. I'll check. Sheikh, is it just a moment? I'll share my screen. Just could you double check, please?
It's called Comprehensive Islamic Jurisprudence. Yes. That is the translation of Ad-Dararir al-Mudiyya.
Yes, I'm just opening it up right now.
Page 1.
Yeah. Here.
اقرأ يا explanation.
In the English text of the explanation, الضرار المضية, Imam Shawkani says, Kitab al-Tahara, Book of Purification, Bab Aqsam al-Miyah, Chapter 1.1, Rulings on Water. Water that is regarded as being clean and suitable for purification will not cease to have those two qualities except when its smell, color, and taste.
اقرأ من explanation. We read that in the other translation. So explanation.
Explanation. This section involves a number of issues. One, there is no difference of opinions about the fact that water is clean and suitable for purification. In fact, the book and the Sunnah have both mentioned that fact, just as the proofs from these sources indicate that there is also ijma' consensus over it. Also, al-asl, Islamic basis, al-zahir, obviousness, and al-bara'a, freedom from liability, indicate that it is basically known that water is clean and suitable for purification. No controversy about that. So it is obvious that water is clean and suitable for purification, and its freedom from the liability of impurities is as well an indication. His words will not cease to have those two qualities. That is the quality of its being clean and the quality of its
Sheikh, I think his voice cut out.
طيب. Continue reading. His words.
It is basically known that water is clean and suitable for purification. No controversy about that. So also, it is obvious that water is clean and is clean and suitable for purification, and its freedom from the liability of impurities is as well as an indication. His words will not cease to have those two qualities. That is, the quality of its being clean and the quality of its being suitable for purification. His words, except when its smell, color, and taste change due to the effect of impurities. That is the second issue in the section, that nothing will make water cease from having two qualities except what might affect one of the three factors among impurities, nothing else. It is this view that is clearer and stronger. The proof for that is what was recorded by Ahmad, who as well authenticated it. Abu Dawood at-Tirmidhi, who also graded it as Hasan, An-Nasa'i, Ibn Majah, Ad-Darqutni, Al-Bayhaqi, Al-Hakim, who also authenticated it, Yahya bin Ma'in, who too graded it as authentic, and Ibn Hazm rahimahullah, from the hadith of Abu Sa'id radiallahu anhu, who said, O Messenger of Allah, should we perform ablution from the Bud'a well, a well which menstrual things, dog flesh, and dirt are flung? Then the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, Al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay'un. Water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it impure. I keep going, Sheikh?
No, keep going until I tell you to stop.
Ibn al-Qattan rahimahullah was of the opinion that the hadith has a hidden defect as regard its authenticity. There are many opinions with respect to the names of the many companions of the Prophet ﷺ and the followers. That, however, does not necessitate the claim of anonymity the hadith is said to have. Even Ibn al-Qattan rahimahullah himself said, after regarding the hadith as having a hidden defect, it has a better route than this. Then he mentioned from the route of Abu Sa'id radiallahu anhu. The proof has been established over the authentication of those who authenticated the hadith among the scholars. The hadith has supportive proofs such as hadith Sahel bin Sa'ad radiallahu anhu with Ad-Dar al-Qutni, the hadith of Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu with Ahmad, Ibn Khuzaymah ibn Hibban, and the hadith of Aisha radiallahu anha with At-Tabarani and Al-Awsat, Abu Ya'la, Abu Ya'la, Al-Bazzar, and Ibn as-Sakan, all of which are like the hadith of Abu Sa'id radiallahu anhu. However, Ad-Darqutni recorded it with an additional, as it has come in the hadith of Ath-Thawban radiallahu anhu in this wording: الماء طهور لا ينجسه شيء إلا ما غلب على ريحه أو طعمه. Water is regarded as being clean. Nothing can make it impure except what dominates its smell or taste. Ibn Majah too recorded it with an addition. So also At-Tabarani in the hadith of Abu Umama radiallahu anhu in this wording: إن الماء طهور إلا أن تغير ريحه أو لونه أو طعمه بنجاسة تحدث فيه. Indeed, water is regarded as being clean except when its smell or color or taste is made to change by an impurity that falls into it. The chain of the above two narrations has a fellow who cannot be taken as proof. The people of hadith are unanimous as to the weakness of the hadith, but a consensus has come over what it contains of message.
As to the weakness of the addition. Hadith. People of hadith are unanimous as to the weakness of the addition.
The people of hadith are unanimous as to the weakness of the addition, but a consensus has come over what it contains of message. Ibn al-Munzir rahimahullah reports, so also Ibn al-Mulaqqin rahimahullah in al-Badr al-Munir and al-Mahdi in al-Bahr. Thus, those who consider ijma' consensus acceptable will approve the addition as being tenable, and those who do not consider it acceptable will only see it beneficial. That it has become what scholars have agreed over its meaning and accepted. It is from that perspective that it is taken as proof, and not from the perspective of the ijma' over it. His words: as for the factor of color, it will cease to become water when pure things mix with it and its color changes absolutely. This is the third issue under the section, and it is in this perspective that water which is made permissible for us in purification is such that it has an absolute quality of water, which cannot be ascribed to what might mix with it. Therefore, if anything mixes with it, then it becomes imperative that it is ascribed to the thing. As it is said, for instance, rose water or what is similar to that. This kind of water that is ascribed to rose cannot be called water absolutely, such that it will be said that it is suitable for purification in the understanding of the Quran and Sunnah. As Allah Almighty said, ma'an tahura, clean water. It has as well come in the authentic Sunnah, al-ma'u tahur, water is regarded as being clean. Thus with that, such water ceases to be suitable for purification, though it does not cease to be clean, because what has mixed with it is clean. What has mixed with it is clean. And when two pure things mix together, that does not necessitate the two ceasing from having the quality that each of them possesses before they mix together. His words, and
Barakallah fiqh, till here. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah fiqh. This is the words of a scholar, and we want to get used to reading the words of the scholars and understanding the words of the scholars. This is one of the most ultimate objectives of this semester, to become familiar with the words of the scholars, with the writings of the scholars, and trying to understand the speech of the scholars. Tab'an, that which is recommended highly, is in the Arabic language. No doubt the English language is a mere translation of what the scholar Ash-Shawkani rahimahullah ta'ala may have intended. Now, honestly speaking, after what we have read today, how many students here in this class understand what Ash-Shawkani is discussing and what he said clearly? I need an honest opinion. If I was to tell you to explain this whole section to me, 3 issues, would you understand exactly these 3 issues and what is intended by these 3 issues?
No, Sheikh, I wouldn't be able to.
Wouldn't be able to. So that means that all of you require a teacher, just like we all required a teacher to understand what is the actual discussion, what is Shawkani trying to say, and where we are going here from this. What are these 3 issues, and how much knowledge can be extracted from these 3 issues, as you will see, is phenomenal. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that let me break everything down to you simply so you understand. So let's go back and we do a recap of our previous lesson. So the first issue that we discussed in our previous lesson was, what was the first issue? Does anybody remember? We discussed the meaning of the word at-tahara in the Arabic language. That was the first issue that we discussed. The word tahara in the Arabic language means purification and cleanliness. The second issue that we discussed was the meaning of the word at-tahara technically. And I said that technically, according to the people of knowledge, at-tahara, when mentioned in the light of the Quran and the Sunnah, refers to raf'ul hadathi wa zawadul khabathi, to remove or get rid of an impurity within the body, or to eliminate any known visible dirt or impurity. The third issue that we discussed was, why do the scholars start with the issues of at-tahara? And I explained to you in detail and gave you its reasons. The fourth issue that we discussed is that water, al-ma, is tahirun fi nafsi, is pure in itself. And the evidence for that was Surah Al-Furqan, ayah number 48. The fifth issue that was discussed was that water is not only pure in itself, it's also a purifier for other things. And the evidence for that was Surah Al-Anfal, ayah number 11. The sixth issue that was discussed is the hadith of Abu Hurairah, which is a Sahih hadith, transmitted by As-Sunan al-Arba, meaning Abu Dawood, At-Tirmidhi, An-Nasai, Ibn Majah, who all said that the Prophet ﷺ said concerning the water of the sea, that its water is pure and purification, and its dead meat is permissible. Right? So, and I also mentioned that at-tahur with al-fath refers to the actual water itself being a purifier. The next issue, or the seventh issue that was discussed, is that principally, and this is a qaida kulliya, and you can write this down as a rule or as a maxim, water fundamentally or principally is divided into 2 categories, tahirun wa najis. So either the water is pure or either the water is impure. The 8th issue that we discussed is that the real condition of water is asluhu tahir, tahurun tarfa'ul hadathi wa tuzilul khabath. That the real condition of water is that the water is pure and it removes impurity within the body, and it removes any tangible, visible impurity. 9th issue that we discussed was that water is pure, tahir, And this is proven from the Quran and the Sunnah and the Ijma, consensus of the Muslim scholars. There is no dispute with regards to this matter. 10th issue that we discussed was that water is pure is also proven from its actual real condition, al-asl, and obviousness of dhahir. So water being pure and also being a purifier, this can be established by analyzing its actual real condition. And that which is obvious when you actually look at the water's condition, you find it. And also al-bara'a. And I mentioned to you that al-bara'a, legitimately pure due to its original characteristic being that it is clean and suitable. So al-bara'a means legitimately it's pure, meaning it's free from any impurity. And that is its original characteristic. And that makes it clean and suitable for purification. The 11th issue that we discussed is that which is apparent and obvious when you look at water. Again, al-dhahur is that water is pure. The 12th issue that we used is Ash-Shawkani when he used the word al-bara'atul asliyah. Or what did he say when he used the word al-bara'atul asliyah? The translation, so you guys can follow. He said, freedom from indicate that it is basically known that water is clean and suitable for purification. Al-bara'atul asliyah, as explained by the people of knowledge, is baqa'u shay ala halatihi al-asli. Anything that remains in its original state is known as al-bara'atul asliyah. Then from this we understood, from this 13th issue we understood al-aslu anna al-ma'a tahirun ma tusahibuhu an-najasa. That the original condition and state of the water is that it is pure and it is not accompanied or it is not mixed with any impurity. The 14th issue that we discussed is that water will not cease to be called water unless it loses its two natural characteristics of being pure. So either the water will lose its two natural characteristics, which is tahir, which is pure, and mutahhir, which is a purifier, either being due to being polluted with impurities. Is that clear? So these are the issues that which we discussed in our previous lesson. Now, if you go and look at the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, which has been of the Buddha well, when the Prophet was asked with regards to the well, what did the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? He said, "Al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay." Water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it pure. Okay? When you read this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the question that I would like to ask, na'am, faddal ya Ali.
Sheikh, my question is in regard to al-bara'atul asliyah, where in the previous class that you had mentioned that the purity, al-bara'atul asliyah means purity of the water without any impurity.
Yes, that is the natural. When you look at the water, what do you see? You see clean, see nothing added to it. This is al-bara'atul asliyah.
Jazakallah khairan, Sheikh.
طيب barakallahu feek. Now, so if you as a student of knowledge was to read this hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay. Apparently, water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it impure. How would you understand this hadith? This is the question that we have. By hadith, by face value, that which is apparent. If you were to take this hadith by itself, nothing else, what would you understand? Where are the students? Naam Subhan, Abdul Subhan.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
What would you understand just this hadith, by just reading this hadith?
We would understand that water cannot be become impure at all times.
Barakallahu feek. Now, this is what is to be understood. Now, Ali.
Naam, Sheikh, adding on to what Brother Subhan said is that if you look at the hadith at face value, it seems that nothing can make water impure no matter what the circumstances.
Now, where are the other brothers? Azhar, Ahmed, we haven't Abdullah, we haven't heard from these brothers. Speak, yeah.
That I would also just add on. I mean, I would say the same what Brother Ali and Subhan said, that if I were to just read this, it means like there could be nothing that could make the water impure, and we can use any water for purification.
Right. Barakallahu feek. So from the benefits of this hadith, or from the fiqh of this hadith, the following points can be derived as mentioned by the people of knowledge. So now we're talking about the fiqh of this hadith. Okay, you need to understand the fiqh of this hadith. When you understand the fiqh of this hadith, then you will understand Ash-Shawkani's argument. This shows that Ahl al-Hadith, they do not just take hadith by isolation, or they do not take hadith zahiran totally. Take into consideration the context of when something was said by the Prophet. So the first thing we'll mention from this hadith, or from what we understand, what the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay, is that the asal, or the thumb rule when it comes to water, is that it is pure. Innal ma'a tahurun. This is what the Prophet ﷺ is saying. Al-ma'u tahurun means that the original condition of the water is pure. Do you understand? This is what we understand. Are you following me? How do we understand this? We understand this. We understand this. For example, if we were now to doubt whether the water is pure or impure, in front of us, there's a glass of water. And when we look at the glass of water, there is a doubt. Is the water pure or impure? So based upon what the Prophet ﷺ said in the first part of the hadith, where he said, Al-ma'u tahurun, means that the ruling that will be given, which is the asal ruling, is that the water is pure. We cannot rule out the water to be impure due to a doubt or due to being speculative. So this is when the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-ma'u tahurun. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, La yunajjisuhu shay. La yunajjisuhu shay, which means now, which means here that if the water was to change with something that is pure, then it still remains pure and does not become impure. This is the meaning of the statement, La yunajjisuhu shay'un. What does this statement of Rasulullah ﷺ mean? That if the water is mixed or diluted with something, that is pure. So for example, if the water is diluted with soap, which is pure, if the water is diluted with rose water, which is pure, if the water is diluted with juice, that is pure, then this water will be considered to be pure. It will not become impure. This is what the Prophet ﷺ was saying when he said, La yunajjisuhu shay, and nothing can make it impure, meaning that if something that is pure, that is mixed with water, then it will not make it impure. For example, let's take the example. So another clear example. There is a vessel of water or a basin of water, and a person wakes up from his sleep and when he wakes up from his sleep, he puts his hands in that water because he's waking up to pray tahajjud, for example. Although the Prophet ﷺ, he prohibited a person that when he wakes up from his sleep, he must not dip his hands inside the water until firstly he has washed his hands 3 times. So the Prophet ﷺ said this. What we understand that if a person was to do this, the Prophet ﷺ did not say that the water becomes impure. So hypothetically speaking, if a person was to put his hands inside a basin or inside a vessel, when he woke up from his sleep and he dipped his hands in that water, although this action is prohibited by the Prophet ﷺ, if he was to do so, the Prophet ﷺ did not say that the water becomes impure. So that means that the purity of the water remains as it is. Also from this hadith, another benefit that can be derived is the permissibility of specifying the sunnah with the ijma' of the Muslims. لا ينجسه شيء. لا ينجسه شيء. The Prophet said, nothing can make it pure. This has been specified with the ijma' of the Muslims. That water, it will only become impure if it is, if impurity, if it is polluted with impurity. So these are some of the benefits that that can be added to this hadith, that when the Prophet ﷺ said, La yunajjisuhu shay, he said this in the context, is that if something pure was to be added and mixed and diluted with water, then that water will not become impure, it will remain pure up to here. Now, also we need to understand another issue, another general water. If the condition of the water changes by either its color changing, or its smell changing, or its taste changing, then this substance that has been added to the water will either be a substance that is pure, or either will be a substance that is impure. And each one of them have a separate ruling. So if we have water and something pure that is mixed, we have a different ruling. If there is water and we have something that is impure and it is mixed, we have a different ruling. So far, are we clear? When I mentioned the benefit, تخصيص السنة بجواز الإجماع, that means that the Muslim Ummah has agreed upon that if the water's color, if the water's taste, what we have 3 things. We have the color, we have the taste, and what else do we have? And
the smell, Sheikh.
Now, smell. If one of these 3 things change, then the water will change from its original condition to another condition. Now, there is ijma with regards to this, as it will come. Somebody had his hand up. Was it Mehnaz? Hand has gone back down. Are we clear so far what has been mentioned? So again, going back to the fiqh of the hadith, al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay. Water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it impure. Firstly, a maxim to understand and note. A maxim means an asal from the usul. The first maxim that we understand with regards to this hadith is Jami'u miya'il bihari tahur. All the sea and ocean waters are purified and purifies. That's the first thing that you need to understand. Second thing is Jami'ul miya ala wajhil ard طهور إلا إذا تغيرت بالنجاسة. All the waters on the face of this earth that come out from the earth are pure unless it is polluted by any impurity such as its taste, smell, or color changes. So water is either produced, or it is either that which descends from the skies, from the clouds, or that which we find on this earth. Both with regards to the water of the oceans and sea, then it's considered to be a purified, it's purified and it's a purified. No matter how much impurity may be found in that water. With regards to water that is found on the face of this earth, then that water remains to be a purified and a purifier until it is polluted and changes with an impurity. And the change can be detected. So this is the second maxim, or the second asim. The maxim of how to detect water changing is by three things: taste, smell, or color. Now, is it clear so far? What I am saying, is it clear? Now, also, if it is argued that they may be now.
Oh, sorry, Sheikh. There's a question from a sister. She's asking, can the first maxim be repeated?
Sorry. First maxim is جميع مياه البحار طهور. All the sea and ocean waters are purified and purifiers. They purify and they are purified. They are purified and they are purifiers. All the well waters on the face of this earth are pure and they are purifiers unless they are polluted by any impurities, such as its taste, smell, or color changes. So we have two types of main waters: waters that can be found that can be found in the oceans and in the seas. We don't have to worry about impurity within them. And waters on the face of this earth. If waters on the face of this earth will be considered to be impure if the taste, smell, or color changes. واضح? Is that clear?
Naam, Sheikh.
So if it is argued that there may be an impurity, so let's say it's argued that there may be an impurity, its smell is not strong, or its color is such that it does not change its color. So the smell is not strong, its color does not change, but for the sake of argument, it's found in water, and the quantity is big. So we have water now, and inside this water there is an impurity. We try to detect this impurity by seeing whether the smell of the water has changed. We can't smell it. Then we look at the color of the water, still can't detect anything. The color hasn't changed. And the quantity is big. When we look at the apparency of the hadith, apparently, then the hadith indicates that it doesn't have an effect. The hadith, if you go by the hadith, apparently, then the hadith would indicate that the water is still pure. But the people of knowledge, ulama, state that if such an impurity that doesn't change its color, taste, or smell, then it is to be regarded, calculated, and assumed that this water, that take this as being impure, which is known as a taqdeer, and it will be given the ruling as being impure. So this is the most common rule. Water will change, condition of the water and the ruling of the water will change when an impurity is found within the water, and smell, taste, or color will detect it. But for the sake of argument, hypothetically, if we don't find and we know that the impurity is there, we are 100% sure that there is impurity, but we can't see no color change, can't see no taste change, you can't see, what is it, color, taste, or smell. None of this. The people of knowledge say then it will be considered and regarded as being impure because it will be calculated as being impure. This is an exception to the rule. Understand? Barakallah, you may. This is very rare, but it's the ulama have spoken about it. Right? So, for example, there is a small vessel of water, and a small kid, a little boy, urinates in this small vessel. His urine has no smell. Smell is not strong, nor does its color change. Obviously, there's no issue of tasting it because it's urine. Then in such a case, we will take it as being pure or impure. We'll take it as being either being changed by its color or not, hence either being pure or impure. So if the urine, this is the possibility. When we find a vessel and a little boy has urinated in the vessel and we can't find any smell or any color change, we have to give it one of the two rulings. Either we will say water is still pure, or we will say that it is impure. Here in this case, we'll say that the water is impure, although we cannot detect it by its smell or by its color change. If we have a doubt, so this was the second scenario. Now a third scenario is we have water, we have a small vessel, and we try to calculate by looking and analyzing this water, or we have a doubt whether the water is pure or impure. In the second scenario of the small kid, we knew that there was urine. In this case, we don't know whether something has been added or something fell in it or did not fall in it. So when it comes to the matter of doubting, then we go back to the asal, and the asal or the original condition of the water is that it is tahara, then we give the ruling that the water is pure. Well, is that clear? Are the scenarios making sense with examples? نعم. نعم
نعم.
يا أيها واضح؟
نعم أستاذ واضح.
Hans Umar Hussein has a question. نعم.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Salam.
As you said, all sea and ocean water is pure unless polluted otherwise by some impurity, and that changing its either smell, taste, or color. As we know,
seawater doesn't become impure. Okay?
Unless...
No, that doesn't apply. I didn't say that with regards to seawater.
Understood.
Doesn't matter how much impurity goes in the seawater, and ocean water is always pure.
Okay. That was the question.
The rule which applies to taste, smell, and color. Is the water that can be found on Earth. Earth is everything other than the sea and the ocean.
Understood.
That's why I said that this is a maxim that you need to understand. Barakallahu fiqh.
Okay. Sheikh, we have a question from one of the sisters.
طيب.
If we are unsure the boy urinated or not, will it stay pure? Won't we go by the safety measure and consider it impure?
I told you, if it is a doubtful matter, no, there is no safety here. We go by the asl. This safety issue opens problems for people. People contact me when they come for Umrah and Hajj and say, just be on the safe side. I said, no, there is no. The asl, the Sharia does not eradicate and give rulings based upon speculation. خذوا هذه القاعدة. Take this qaida and this rule, this maxim. Sharia does not pass judgments based upon doubt and speculation. If there is a doubt, you go to the asl. طيب? If there is a doubt, you go to the asl. If there is a doubt whether the kid urinated or did not urinate and there is nothing detected, the water is pure. Not that I'm going to be on the safe side. So last time. If the kid has urinated inside the water and nothing can be detected, then it will be calculated of being impure. Well, this is how the Sharia runs on certainty, on yaqeen. Sharia does not run on shak. And it does not bring out these rules and regulations to be on the safe side. We don't have a safe side on something which is established, not on that. We have the safe side option on other issues, but not on this issue. That's why Ash-Shawkani said Al-Bara'atul Asri. That's why Ash-Shawkani said Al-Bara'a. Now do you understand why he said Al-Bara'atul Asri? واضح؟ نعم. تفضل أزهر.
So I have a question that when we are mentioning that water is pure for, as in what, for drinking or all purposes, purity purposes?
Purity purposes and drinking. Tahir means that it's pure in itself. Muttahirun means that it can purify others. This is the original condition of the water.
Okay, so then Ustad, if we say that taste is made to change by an impurity, that falls into it only if an impurity. But if something like that is not impure falls into it, it still remains pure.
Let me finish the end of the chapter and see if your question is answered or not. Because this will come.
We have a question from one of the sisters. The only reason why the first scenario is impure is due to the fact that we know that the boy urinated in it.
We know he urinated, but we can't see it. We can't smell it. We can't see nothing. But we know he urinated itself.
And then we have from one of the brothers, in this theoretical example, would it have to be clear odorless urine, which is known you have which is known you have entered a vessel of water?
Well, I don't understand the question.
So would it have to be
known to have entered the vessel?
Huh?
So in this example, it would have to be clear, odorless urine that you know for certain is in the vessel.
No. So everything is based on certainty. There's no doubt. The example is hypothetical, but within the example, it really happened. Now, we move on. Secondly, if a person was to find rainwater, even if it is little, and if he knows for sure that birds and animals may have drank from this water, okay, so you've got all these types of, and you're in the jungle, and there's a bit of rainwater you find, you know for sure that you can see that birds and animals may have drank from this water. This water will be considered to be pure as long as its color, taste, and smell has not been polluted by any impurity, changing its natural characteristic of being water. So even if you find a little water, and we see animals around it, drinking from it and then going, and we see that the water is in its normal condition, this water will be tahirun muttahir, purified and impurified. Another example. If a mouse was to die in pure water, and if the mouse is removed from this water, okay, so you just say you got a pond, small pond, mouse is dead, you remove the mouse, and when you analyze the water, nothing changed in terms of its color, taste, and smell. Then the water is tahirun muttahir, purified and purified. You can purify yourself with it and drink from it, as long as it is said that drinking it will not harm your health. Sometimes some animals that die you may drink that water, could be dangerous to your health, but that is not an Islamic ruling that is based on health. Then if that is the case, that you're not allowed to drink from it, then you could still use it as a purifier to make wudu from it. So this is with regards to the original condition of the water.
Afwan Sheikh, we have a few questions from the sisters.
Right.
She asks, also with regard to the Sharia not being based upon speculations or take the safe option, then what about the Mas'alatul Ahwad?
Mas'alatul ahwat will come. Mas'alatul ahwat is not in this circumstance. When there is a battle between yaqeen and shak, there is no mas'alatul ahwat. Mas'alatul ahwat has its places. For example, there is two different opinions of the scholars. You cannot weigh up and see which opinion is stronger than the other. One is saying completely the opposite. In that circumstance, you as being a layman may take a safer option. These are issues which are agreed upon. And there's no the scholars don't differ on this, what I'm mentioning. The Masalatul Ahwad is in those issues where the scholars may differ and you may not be able to weigh up the opinions. Now,
Then we have certainty takes precedence over doubt. The maxim of al-yaqeen la yazulu bishak. Is this maxim being followed?
Now, this is the maxim that is being followed here. Al-yaqeen la yazulu bishak. Barakallah. So the next issue that Ash-Shawkani mentioned is the issue of ijma'. So we're going to come back for each issue is the issue of ijma'. Shawkani mentioned and he said, what did he say with regards to ijma'? Now, here he says. So, ijma' is something which is considered to be a consensus. Okay? First thing we need to understand is that whose consensus are we talking about? Okay? So there are two groups of scholars who are divided with regards to the status of ijma' in al-Islam. One group of scholars, they say that ijma' is restricted to the era or the age of the companions, ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, and there can be no ijma' after the companions. And this was the position of our scholar al-Imam al-Shawkani rahimahullah ta'ala. طيب.
Afwan Sheikh, could you please repeat that point you just made?
طيب. Ash-Shawkani, one second. Just looking at the issue of where ijma' has been mentioned here. طيب. Then we'll postpone the issue of ijma' and we will come back to the issue of ijma'. طيب. Let me just move the issue of ijma'. طيب. Let's go back. So now, Ash-Shawkani, rahimahullah ta'ala, he brings the hadith as an argument where he says, Al-ma'u tahurun la yunajjisuhu shay. Water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it impure. This is the hadith that he brings, which we are discussing. Alhamdulillah, we have covered the fiqh of this hadith and the context of this. With regards to this hadith, which Shawkani brings to prove his argument, firstly, he brings this hadith, which is the hadith reported on the authority of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, radiyallahu anhu. But the hadith does not have the additional wording as being clean. It does not have the additional wording of smell, color, or taste. So we have two narrations. One narration mentions the additional wording of taste, color, and smell. And one hadith mentions that the water is pure and nothing can make it impure without this additional wording. So first of all, let's look at the first hadith, which is water is regarded as being clean, nothing can make it impure. Shawkani brings this hadith and he believes that this hadith is sahih, and he brings scholars who authenticated this hadith like Ahmad, At-Tirmidhi, Al-Hakim, Ibn Ma'in, Ibn Hazm, and others. He says these are all the great giants. Imam Ahmad, Imam At-Tirmidhi, Imam Yahya ibn Ma'in, Al-Hakim, Yahya ibn Ma'in, and others who authenticated this narration. But he brings an objection of a scholar known as Ibn al-Qattan. Ibn al-Qattan was born in the year 562 after Hijrah, 628. Now Shawkani, because he was Ahl al-Hadith, within the issues of fiqh, he will bring the discussion of the verification and the authentication of hadith, and you must get used to this. So this is the first thing. He brings the narration, he holds it to be authentic, he brings the giants that also concur with him, and then he says there's a small argument with regards to this hadith. Okay, what's the argument? He says that Ibn al-Qattan says that the name of the companion is ambiguous, Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. This is what Ibn Qattan, he said that this hadith has a defect. The brother translated it as a hidden defect. This is an incorrect translation. Like I said to you, it's a defect. Abu Sa'id is clear, ambiguous. It's not a hidden defect. It's an apparent defect if it is considered to be a defect. So Shawkani says that this is the problem, that Ibn Qattan says that we don't know who is this Abu Sa'id. So Al-Shawkani answers him by saying that Ibn Qattan himself, although he says that the argument that if a companion's name is ambiguous and it is not known, does not have any impact upon the verification and the authentication of a hadith. Because there are many companions whose names are ambiguous and their narrations have been considered and have been verified of being authentic. Then he says that Ibn Qattan himself, he eliminates this objection himself that he has about the hadith, and he says that there is another route that is better and authentic. Right? Says, what does he say? He says, even Ibn Qattan himself said, after regarding the hadith as having a defect, it has a better route than this. Then he mentioned the route from Abu Sa'id. What was mentioned? Are you following me? Are the students following the argument? Is everybody understanding the argument here? Shawkani brings a hadith, establishes his argument, brings the giants, says that all these giants authenticated the hadith, and then he says Ibn al-Qattan has a problem with this hadith. He says that there's a defect with this hadith. Say, what's the defect? He says the defect is that the companion's name is not known. He said this is not a real defect. Many companions' names are not known and their hadith have been verified. Then he says Ibn Qattan himself, why did he bring this argument when he himself says there's a hadith with another route that is better than this? So, and he says that this other hadith which has another route is from Abu Sa'id. What does he say? It's from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. This is a mistake on behalf of Ash-Shawkani. Ash-Shawkani said that this route is from Abu Sa'id, but this is not correct. The better route that Ash-Shawkani is talking about is not from Abu Sa'id. It's from Sahal ibn Sa'd. Sahal ibn Sa'd. This is the one who narrated this hadith, not Abu Sa'id, another companion and this was mentioned by Ibn Abdul Barr. Ibn Abdul Barr is the one who mentioned the word Sa'd. Is the one who mentioned Sa'd instead of Sahl. And Ash-Shawkani most probably took it from him. So the mistake was made by Ibn Abdul Barr, and Ash-Shawkani relied upon him. That which is correct is that the other narration is from Sahl ibn Sa'd. So make sure you make a note of that. It's not Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. So it's Sahl ibn Sa'd who mentioned, and according to Ibn Qattan, this route is much more of a better route than the route of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. The fifth issue is there is another hadith with the additional word. So we have another hadith which has been reported in At-Tabarani, in the hadith of Abu Umam. And in this wording, the Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْمَاءَ تَهُورٌ إِلَّا أَن تَغَيَّرَ رِيحُهُ أو لَوْنُهُ أو طَعْمُهُ بِنَجَاسَةٍ تُحَدَّثُ. So with regards to the first narration, we're done with the issue. Ibn Qattan, he came with a problem, he came with a defect, it was answered. He said there is another route, and this other route is from Abu Sa'id. It's not from Abu Sa'id, it's from Sahl ibn Sa'd. End of issue. Now we come to the second hadith, which is problematic. The first part of the hadith is authentic, but the second part of the hadith, which mentions smell, color, or taste, is made to change by an impurity that falls into it. This additional wording has been classified by all the Ahlul Hadith as being weak. That this is not established from the Prophet ﷺ. This wording of taste, smell, or what is it? Color. This is not established from the Prophet ﷺ. نعم يا أبا لقمان. ما سؤال. تفضل.
Sheikh, was it Ibn al-Qattan that said that mentioned this from Abu Sa'id, or was the mistake with Ibn Qattan, or was the mistake with Ibn
Ash-Shawkani narrated this, that Ibn Qattan said this.
Okay.
Did Ibn Qattan said this? That needs to be checked. But this tashif, or this mistake, the sahuf, or this mistake of, instead of it being Abu Sa'id, it's Sahl ibn Sa'd, and the word Sa'id became Sa'd, Sa'd became Sa'id, then this can be found in Al-Istithkar of Ibn Abdul Barr. That's where Shawkani got it. واضح? Because this is the only other route for it. This is the other route for it. طريق for it. واضح?
Well,
Sheikh, we have a question from one of the sisters.
نعم.
Who verified that Qattan was wrong and the actual route is from Sahl ibn Sa'd?
I looked at this myself, and I found this in Al-Istithkar today. And others have also mentioned this as well. طيب? Because the narration is not, the other route is not from Abu Sa'id, it's from Sahl ibn Sa'd. واضح? You can know this when you make Jam' al-Turuq. When you get all the different routes together, it becomes clear. These type of mistakes are common.
Naam, Sheikh.
Right? I gave you the reference. If you want, I can give you the page number of where you can actually find the statement. Volume 2, page 111 of Al-Istidhkar of Ibn Abdul Barr. Now, so the hadith with the additional wording, except when it smell or color or taste, is made to change by an impurity that falls into it. This additional wording is weak by agreement with ittifaq Jamahir Ahl al-Hadith, but its meaning is accepted. This is the issue. Hadith is weak. Wording of the hadith is weak, but the meaning of the hadith is accepted. And you should know about this, that you will come across this quite common. The wording of the hadith is weak, but the principle of taste, color, or smell changing, this principle is accepted. And Shawkani will mention why this principle is accepted. What we can derive a maxim, a thumb rule, that a sanad can be weak, but its matan, its text, may be accepted and verified as being authentic by the Muslim scholars. Or a sanad may be sahih, but its matan is weak due to having nakara, some form of it being anonymous, so that will be rejected. So what we understand is just because a chain of transmission is weak, the text may be established based upon a principle or with another root. Just because the chain of transmission is sahih, that does not necessitate the fact that the matan or the text of the hadith is sahih. So the critical analysis by the muhaddithun are based both upon its chain and its text. This is a refutation upon the Orientalists who say that the muhaddithun, the Ahlul Hadith, they only critique and analyze isnad without looking at the matan. Well, this is a good example. So now we come to the issue of ijma. After knowing this, that the wording, the hadith, with the additional wording of smell, color, or taste, the wording cannot be ascribed to the Prophet ﷺ, but the meaning or the principle is accepted. And this is where Shawkani mentions the issue of ijma. Where and how has this been accepted? The people just accept this because they wanted to accept it and make it part of the deen. The scholars just say, you know what, we're going to agree to this. So, ijma, I said to you that there are two groups of scholars when it comes to ijma. There are those who only accept and restrict ijma, consensus, to occur during the time of the Sahaba. They say everything that the scholar of the Sahabas agreed upon is considered ijma. After the era of the Sahaba, it is not possible for ijma to occur and we don't accept it. And this was the position of Ash-Shawkani. And the Sahaba, they accepted that if the color, or if the taste, or if color, taste, or smell changes, then the water will not longer be considered to be water. Or if we say that the Sahabas agreed this, but this agreement was known individually, and let's say that this ijma occurred after the era of the companions, meaning during the time of the tabi'in. And this is what Shawkani discusses here. Shawkani says that there is an agreement that the additional wording of the hadith is weak, which contains color, taste, or smell if they change. Those who accept ijma as a proof and evidence in itself will approve this additional wording as being tenable, meaning they will say that due to the consensus of the Muslim scholars, its color, due to the color, taste, and smell changing and polluting, the water will be classified as being impure. Well, there. So those who consider ijma to be a proof in itself and will believe that an evidence after the Sahaba, ijma can occur. According to them, they will say that this additional wording is strengthened and proven through the ijma of those who came afterwards, and therefore smell, taste, and color is accepted. What about those who don't accept ijma, like Shawkani? So Shawkani says, well, our argument is that those who do not see ijma as a proof in itself and evidence, they argue that ijma, for example, is restricted to the era of the companions only. Their argument is that this consensus of the scholars is something which is to be taken as something beneficial, mufid, but not as proof and evidence, which strengthens and authenticates this additional wording, although it is weak. So say that a benefit that has come out from amongst them that they have all agreed upon, which strengthens and authenticates the additional wording of smell, taste, or color as being weak, is that they all said, agreed upon this is the benefit that has come out of it. Not that it is a proof in itself and evidence, but this is something which they have agreed upon. This is a determiner or a landmark to detect purity from impurity, and they have agreed upon it. Well, is that clear? Both arguments understood and understood of what Shawkani meant. نعم من هو عنده السؤال؟
أنا أستاذ علي. Sheikh, you mentioned the two groups of ijma', and one of them restricted to the time of Sahaba, and Imam Shawkani was one of them. And the next group, they accept the time of the tabi'een as well.
Every time. They say that even ijma' can occur today. Even in 2023, they say it can occur.
Okay. That was my confusion. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.
Is that clear? Everybody. They say ijma' can occur at any time. Shawkani says it's impossible. Not every single scholar on the face of this earth can agree upon something after the time of the Prophet ﷺ.
And then we have one question from the sisters. She's asking, here the ijma' being talked about is about the tabi'een.
After the Sahaba. If it was from the Sahaba, then Shawkani wouldn't say that there's an argument.
And then she asks, the Sahaba had the ijma' on this usul of taste, smell, and color?
The Sahaba, they acted upon this in that sense. As we can see, it's common sense, what will come afterwards. But was there, like Shawkani says, that was there like something during the time of the Sahaba that this was like documented or said ijma'? They said that this principle of somebody saying this is water, this is not water, this is purified or this is purified, this was present in the time. The actual occurrence of ijma' happened after the time of the Sahaba. Well,
Naam, Sheikh. Naam, Sheikh.
Does that make it clear? It was practiced and followed. If I brought to you a cup of tea with water, would you say that this is water for wudu?
La, Sheikh.
Huh? If I could smell something that water, there's an impurity, and I could smell that, this smell of urine, would you say that this is pure water?
La.
These things must have happened during the time of the Sahaba, yes?
No.
Okay, that's why they would have asked such questions, yes?
No.
About the well that they asked, menstruating women and cats and possibly dogs and possibly rats and possibly, yes?
No.
So something that was acted upon. For it to be formed as a maxim, as a landmark, happened after the time of the Sahaba.
Wadah, Sheikh.
Now, do we understand when we read what Shawkani was talking about? So those who agree as ijma' as being a proof even in 2023, for them they say there's ijma' on this and this is a proof for us. Those who don't consider it to be a proof, they said that this is something which was agreed upon, and this benefit that is agreed upon strengthens and confirms that which has been mentioned in the weak hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, has been ascribed to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. واضح؟
نعم شيخ واضح.
طيب. طيب. There's any issue now?
Sheikh, you said regarding the issue about the hadith being authentic or inauthentic depending on the sanad and the matan. Could you explain that point where you said the chain can be authentic, but then the wordings, the matan is inauthentic?
So we have two possibilities when it comes to verification of hadith. A hadith is verified in two parts: the verification of the sanad and then the verification of the text. So it is possible that a hadith if a hadith has a weak sanad then the text will be weak. But at the same time, if the hadith has a sahih sanad, it doesn't necessitate the fact that the text will be authentic. So we have, let's say, 3 scenarios. Hadith is sahih and text is sahih. Okay, first scenario. Hadith, sanad is sahih and matan is sahih. First scenario. Second scenario, the sanad is weak, the text is weak. Third scenario, the matan is sahih, but the text is weak. Fourth scenario, the sanad is weak, but the matan is sahih. Okay, this is what I'm trying to say. Just because a sanad is sahih doesn't mean that, meaning that the muhaddithun, they analyze and they critique. The critique is based upon looking at the chain as well as the text. Here, the text has been criticized as being weak due to color, smell, and taste, but it is established in the Sharia. Well, there. So the only thing we will say is that we cannot ascribe this to the Prophet ﷺ due to its weakness, but the qa'idah stands because it was something that was practiced during the time of Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim ajma'in, and then there was an ijma. If you accept the ijma as a proof and evidence in 2023, and it was an ijma. Or that there was a consensus which made the benefit that this was something which was practiced from the time of the Sahaba till everybody said we agree, we agree, we agree, we agree. So they say, although we don't take this as a proof and evidence, but this benefit of the agreement is a benefit to support the weakness of the narration. واضح يا عمر.
Still just trouble wrapping my head around if the sanad is sahih, to say Sahaba
Ya akhi, what I mean to say is, just because a sanad is sahih does not necessitate the fact that the matan is sahih. And just because the matan is sahih does not necessitate the fact that the sanad is sahih. هذا هو. Meaning, the thumb rule here is that you have to carry out a thorough investigation of both the sanad and the matan before you come to a conclusion.
Understood.
So if you were to take this hadith as being weak, Ya Umar, what does that mean? That means you would have to reject taste, smell, or color. Yes? If you take this hadith as being weak. But taste, color, and smell is established through another source.
Right.
This is the argument. That the sanad is weak, but the matan is sahih. واضح? Is it clear now?
Understood. Yes, Sheikh.
Now we come to the issue of al-ma'ul mutlaq, which is the third issue, which the Sheikh mentions. Al-ma', whenever the word al-ma' is used, which means water, and when the people of knowledge, they say al-ma'ul mutlaq, they mean by al-ma'ul mutlaq the absolute form of water or the original condition of the water. This is the type of water which is in its original condition. Al-ma'ul mutlaq refers to the water which is in its original condition. This ma'ul mutlaq either comes from the skies or is found on the earth. It has the two characteristics. It's purified, tahir, and it's a purified, mutahir. Ash-Shawkani states that the water that has been purified for us is the water that has the two characteristics. And it is not ascribed to anything else that mixes with it. So Ash-Shawkani says al-ma'ul mutlaq can only be called al-ma'ul mutlaq can only be called al-ma'ul mutlaq, or something can only be called water when these two characteristics can be found within it. If anything else mixes with it, then it will no longer be called or be known as al-ma'ul mutlaq. If it is mixed with it, then it becomes imperative that it is ascribed to it. So if you mix something with it, now we know before we've studied that if it's mixed with an impurity by color, smell, or taste, then khalas, that water is impure. But what happens when something is mixed with it? For example, rose is mixed with it, then this water will no longer be called al-ma'ul mutlaq, it will be called ma'wat. It will be called rose water. So now this water has changed its original state and condition, and it is ascribed to rose. And now it cannot be called water by itself. It cannot be called al-ma'ul mutlaq. You cannot say al-ma. You have to say ma'wat. Everybody will say rose water. And then Shawkani says that the hadith states water is regarded as being clean, and now it changes its original state. So it is no longer a purified, but it is still pure as what was added was pure. So in other words, Shawkani is saying here, what is Shawkani saying with regards to al-ma'ul mutlaq? When an impurity, when water is polluted with an impurity, we've already studied that issue. This issue talks about water being mixed, being diluted, and being added with something that is pure. So Shawkani gave the example of rose. A rose water is added. A rose is added to water. Now the water loses its original condition, which is it having two characteristics, purified and purified. It loses. When something pure is added to it, and it no longer remains in its original condition, it loses one of the two characteristics. It's still pure, but now it is no longer a purified. So when two pure things are mixed together, for example, rose or soap, you have water, you add rose to it, now it's considered to be rose water. The water is pure, rose is pure, but it's no longer, it's tahir, but it's no longer mutahir. Soap is added into water, the water becomes soap water, soap is pure, soap water is considered to be pure, but it's no longer considered to be a purifier. Why? Because it has lost its original characteristic of being pure water. Something has been mixed with it. So due to the water being mixing with it, as before they mixed soap or water, rose or soap independently, the water was pure. It was al-ma'ul mutlaq. But after they mixed it, it changed from its original condition to another condition. When it changes from its original condition to another condition, it no longer has the absolute quality of being water. Therefore, it is pure, but now cannot be a purified. So we have both things. We had the water in its original condition with its two characteristics: purified, and purified. We have rose, it's pure. Rose is pure. We mixed both of them together. Water and rose mixed together. Now water becomes a rose water. It doesn't become just water. So because it is no longer called water. And in the Quran, Ash-Shawkani says, we have been commanded by Allah. What does Shawkani say? He says, when you look at it, he says, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Al-Furqan, ma'an tahura. This quality of it being pure, absolute water, or al-ma'ul mutlaq, has been taken away because now it's rose water or soap water. Therefore, you cannot purify yourself with this water, although it's pure in itself. So this was the question that was asked last week. What was the question that was asked last week? The question that was asked last week was, can we do wudu with soap water? Can we do wudu with orange juice? Can we do water with tea? And the answer is that if that which has been added is a small quantity, like a few drops, and it is still considered water, meaning we don't say now, just say one drop was there, 2 drops were there, nothing really changed or anything happened, then there is nothing wrong with making wudu with that. But when you added the water and it changes this condition to such a quantity that it takes away the name water, like orange juice, tea, the broth that we cook meat with, then now it has become something else that, although it's pure, it's pure to use, but it's no longer a purifier because it does no longer take the absolute name of being water due to the dominance of pure substances over the water. Now, that was the question that the sister asked last week, that can we do water wudu with juice, orange juice, tea, soap water, etc. واضح? Is that clear? We stop here and we've covered the three issues. The next issue which we will cover inshallah is المسألة الرابعة, where the Shaykh said ولا فرق بين قليل وكثير. This is a bit of a complicated issue. That's why we stopped here today. Any questions so far before we finish of the three issues? Now we have covered the three issues, have broken them down. We should understand them clearly. بإذن ta'ala. Is there anybody that doesn't understand now why we should not be doing wudu with soap water? Or if you're asked the question, can you do wudu with soap water? Soap is pure, or rose water?
واضح أستاذ.
Now, when you listened to everything at the beginning of the lesson, all three issues, I broke everything down to you in little pieces.
There's no question that's reached me yet, Sheikh.
Any questions? Any questions?
None, alhamdulillah.
So we're clear on all three issues. Now we're not going to be discussing anything with three issues. I broke everything down to you. So when water is diluted and mixed with an impurity, and end of game. If water is mixed with something which is pure, like rose, tea, broth, and it changes from its original condition and no longer is called water, then it's pure but cannot be pure. It cannot be a purifier. You've learned this rule, teaching you maxims of fiqh. When you understand maxims, you can give answers. So when something that is pure mixes with water and it loses its original name, that it loses the characteristic of purifying. But it's purified. It cannot be a purifier. Why? Because Allah in the Quran said, Ma antahu. It's no longer man. It's ma'ud. Or it's asid. Or it's maraq. Broth. Yes?
Yeah, Sheikh. Sheikh, there are no more questions.
Oh, nah.
Alhamdulillah.
Tfaddal.
There are no more questions, Sheikh.
No more questions. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah.
So that means everything is clear. Is everything clear?
No.
Everybody put their hands up if everything is clear. Alhamdulillah. Give me a thumbs up. If you understood this, then you understood the three issues that were studied. Abdullah Khan did not understand. Let me see if anybody who hasn't. Fatima did not understand. Olivia did not understand.
Sheikh, it's better if we raise our hands because the thumbs up reaction.
Okay, everybody raise their hands. Raise their hands. Anybody, Ali, that did not raise their hands? Do you understand? Please go back and look at your notes, inshallah. This lesson is a very important lesson. Like I said, those who today attended these lessons have understood these three issues. Also, they understood the difference between ijma, which is a proof in itself, and ijma, which was considered to be beneficial, accepting the additional wording of the hadith, which is weak, but not a proof in itself. Barakallahu feekum. We'll stop here. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. See you next week, inshallah, for the fourth issue.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.